Welcome to this 88K model railroad video, and today we're going to go over DCC-EX. But instead of having a review or an overview, I'm going to call this an orientation. And here's why. I had no prior DCC++ experience or knowledge, so I was going in at conductor level. DCC-EX outlines three different levels: a conductor, a tinkerer, and an engineer. With my experience or reflecting back, I was overwhelmed with the amount of information that was in the website, and I lacked the basic concept to be able to navigate around it. The problem is, when you're new to something, your mind is always clicking and you're thinking to understand what's going on. But as you click other links, it starts to pile on more questions. And eventually you'll get overwhelmed or inundated and overwhelmed because of the lack of insight or focus, so to speak. So what I want to do is to provide a bit of insight to DCC-EX so the conductor can navigate through and get his build done in a halfway decent manner, because it took me a while. So with that said, let's get started. There are a lot of facets to DCC-EX. You have a DIY command station that you can build, then the firmware where you can input your custom commands as input that becomes internal to the command station. You have the ability to create a transformer and operate legacy DC locomotives with pulse width modulation. Then the wireless operations that it provides you, adding the Wi-Fi module. Then you can take each of what they call the motor shields, which creates the DCC signals, and stack them on the Arduino and create more boosters. So there's so many things that you can do with DCC-EX that it can be that overwhelming scenario. And this is how we're going to try to avoid that. Just to give you a visual of the website, here's a static image of the website. And look at all of the modules on the left-hand side. And here's the breakdown of each one of those modules, and within them they have pages upon pages of information. Initially, as a conductor, you don't need this. It's going to distract from you. So what we're going to do is to break it down to the three basic components that you need to get your command station built. We are going to look at the DCC-EX command station, the EX installer, and X-Rail. This is going to give you a kind of a map of what you need to do and where you're going to go. We're going to end at the X-Rail, and that's going to get you, that's once you're inside of DCC-EX, the command station, you'll know what to do next. So it'll position you to get further into the program. There are three basic parts with the EX command station. You have the EX web throttle, you have the command station, and you have the layout itself. You have the main track and the programming track. So there's two individual outputs. The web throttle is the interface or the computer interface to the command station, but you're not limited to just the web throttle. You can use Rockrail or JMRI to control or interact with the command station. because, or when you place a wireless module onto the command station, you're able to do the remote throttles or the wireless throttles into the command station. DCC-EX also has what's called a track manager. The track manager issues commands to the command station to either operate in DCC mode or DC mode. It gives you the ability to switch back and forth, or you can set up configuration files where it only operates in DCC or only DC. So this kind of gives you a little bit of understanding of how complex the EX command station is, and then all of the other features. As you can see, you can operate or control a turntable. You have I/O expanders to give you more inputs for sensors and accessories. Then there's the DCC inspector. You're able to go in and see what's going on. Also, the fast clock and the EX toolbox are there, but we won't go into that. We'll just continue on with the orientation. Let's look at the command station itself. The Arduino, in this case the 2560, is the base or the processing unit of the command station. You can use a Uno, but the Uno doesn't have the processing power that the 2560 does, or the Mega. On the right, you see in this case it's an 8874 motor shield. This motor shield controls the voltage that goes out or goes across the track. And as the same way that a motor, or I'm sorry, the same way that the pulses are transmitted over the track, because this is a motor module, it's able to duplicate that signal. So the Arduino is connected in, or the motor shield is connected into the Arduino, and then you could see the two green connectors. That's the track input, or the track output, I should say. The Arduino has what's called the IDE, and the IDE is the program that communicates or updates the Arduino. The computer is also connected to the Arduino, although it has the IDE inside of it. So that these are the two components that allow you to upgrade and then control the command station. So these three parts are intricate to the operations of the command station. This is where it can get a little tricky, because there are a number of motor shields that you can use. Some have a plug and play type scenario, others you will have to make modifications. This is where you need to make a decision if you're going to purchase a motor shield or if you're going to purchase the complete module itself. You have to kind of look to see what you have and what you can repurpose, and then the things that you have to purchase in order to get your command station built. But know that it can get a little tricky. Don't be deterred. Just look for either what you have and use it, or just buy the modules and continue on with the build. Next, we're going to look at the EX installer. Once you have your module built, you can, like I said, you could either purchase a ready to go unit, or assemble one yourself. You're going to need to load the firmware onto the board to make it usable. DCC-EX has its own installer. The installer is one of two ways that you can apply the firmware to your Arduino. And as I mentioned before, you could use the Arduino IDE or the EX installer application. Now, the installer application is pretty much the Arduino IDE itself, but it asks you the questions up front and then it will compile it, versus the IDE Uno, you kind of have to know what files you want to use and manipulate to build the firmware. So for the guy who is the conductor, you want to use the EX installer. Now the requirements are a Windows, Apple, the device, or Linux. The EX command station, the hardware, as we mentioned, the Arduino Mega or Uno, but you want the higher powered unit, the Mega. You can also use the ESP32 or the STM32. These are a little bit on the engineering side because you don't have all of the components that are already built. You've got to build the board itself. You have to create or integrate the motor shield with those small MCUs. It's possible, but it's a bit difficult. So with the requirements and understand, and this is where you get all of the pieces together to see if you can do this. Once you get the software loaded onto the Uno or onto the Mega, you can then access the command station and issue commands. You'll see after the loading is complete, you'll get a congratulations screen, and on the bottom or at the bottom of the screen it has a button where it says view device monitor. When you click that button, it gives you a terminal, and at that terminal you have access into the command station, so you can issue little commands, status commands, and things like that to see the command station reply to you. So that is the final point where you say, I've got my command station up and operational. This brings us to the last module of our orientation, and it's X-Rail. X-Rail is the automation part of the software or the firmware. It's called Extended Railroad Automation Instruction Language. This is a language that X-Rail has, similar to the protocols that the other companies or manufacturers have. They give you access to a file that's called myautomation.h, and it's a C++ format. The key or the good thing with EX Rail is it allows you to compile your scripts into the firmware of the command station. So when you see, for example, JMRI or Rockrail or any of the other software programs, what they're doing is taking Python scripts that you write and then send them to the command station to operate or to execute. The plus about the X-Rail is your commands are now written into the command station, and the command station executes those commands internally. You are able to automate using what they call sequences, and there's four different types of sequences that you write. They have their own instruction formats where you tell it, okay, I want to do a basic sequence, and then you tell it what to do. And once you complete all your sequences, you then go back to the compiler or the EX installer, and you tell the installer, okay, I want you to compile my new software or firmware, and here are my commands that I want you to insert into the firmware. That way it makes your commands permanent with the command station. And that's really hard to beat because now you're doing exactly what the manufacturer is doing with their software and their command stations. So the capabilities that DCC-EX and XRO gives you just opens the door for you to do whatever you want. I have another video that's coming where I found a problem with Rockrail and was able to address the issue, resolve it without even dealing with submitting a ticket to Rockrail to get that particular problem resolved. And I'll post that video up. But all in all, this is DCC-EX has come a long way from DCC++. And if you learn how to operate or how to build this system, then you'll be able to handle or deal with any of your projects or your builds in the future. For me, I use DCC-EX to actually control a DC layout. And I had certain requirements which it fulfilled, and that's what brought me to DCC-EX. And then when I saw it, I thought, oh wow, this is it. So hopefully this will help you guys out, especially the conductor guys that's coming in, and and more so the DC guys that wants to get control of their layouts. And you can control two different lines with the DC, what they call DC mode. So I'm going to end it here. Like I said, hopefully this will help you guys out, especially the conductors. So please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.